Welcome back to NASCAR World News. Cletus McFarland just got denied entry to race at Talladega in the O'Reilly Series. You would naturally assume that kind of rejection would pump the brakes on his momentum, right? Instead, within just a matter of days, he locked in one of the most significant partnerships of his entire career, headlined his biggest annual event at the Freedom Factory, and revealed he is expanding his racing operation in a direction that genuinely nobody anticipated. This man simply does not decelerate under any circumstances. But before we dive too deep into everything, one important detail needs addressing immediately. The Polaris partnership was announced publicly and officially, but neither party has confirmed any specific financial figures attached to the deal. So whenever you hear people tossing numbers around across social media platforms, understand clearly that those are pure speculation and nothing confirmed by either side. Cletus has been positioned directly at the center of one of the most heated ongoing debates in all of NASCAR right now. He was denied approval to compete in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series event scheduled at Talladega on April 25th. Simultaneously, his name has arguably never carried more weight or recognition than it does at this particular moment. He ran fourth in the ARCA East race at Rockingham, then he crossed the line 32nd in his O'Reilly Series debut following a genuinely chaotic afternoon. But critically, he brought the car home in one piece, and immediately following that Rockingham weekend, rather than pulling back and regrouping, he buried the throttle in every other available direction at once. He executed the Polaris partnership agreement, he ran the Freedom 500 at the Freedom Factory in front of a completely sold-out crowd, he publicly announced he is adding a pro late model division alongside his existing Crown Vic events as a companion series, and NASCAR's own president climbed onto a podcast and referenced him directly by name in the conversation. For anyone who somehow remains unfamiliar with who this person actually is, Cletus McFarland, born Garrett Mitchell, is a YouTube-based motorsports content creator who constructed an enormous and deeply loyal audience built entirely around horsepower, controlled chaos, burnout culture, Freedom Factory events, and genuinely authentic gearhead content across every format. By April of 2026, he had accumulated more than 4.6 million YouTube subscribers and counting. That level of reach and authentic audience engagement is precisely why NASCAR, Richard Childress Racing, and now Polaris all want direct access to the community he has spent years carefully constructing. So let us address the Talladega situation first, because this particular chapter of the story consistently gets overlooked whenever people are actively arguing about the Talladega situation dominating the headlines. On April 7th, Polaris made their multi-year partnership with Cletus and his complete motorsports community official and public. Reed Wilson, serving as president of Polaris Off-Road Vehicles, stated that his organization simply could not continue observing from the outside without becoming an active participant in what Cletus has built. He described Cletus as bringing energy, genuine passion, and authentic personality that perfectly reflects what American motorsports represents at its very core. And Cletus responded in the only manner Cletus ever responds to anything. He expressed that everything he has built traces back to freedom, horsepower, and genuinely having a tremendous time doing it, and that Polaris fits that identity absolutely perfectly. His exact words were his trademark "Hell yeah, brother," framing the partnership as an opportunity to introduce significantly more people to the broader powersports culture and community. This arrangement is not simply a conventional race sponsorship transaction by any stretch of the imagination. It extends considerably further than placing a corporate logo on a fire suit or applying a sticker to the side panel of a race car. The official announcement language specifically emphasized that across his operations, content creation, live fan experiences centered at the Freedom Factory, Cletus will be fully powered by Polaris going forward. Their own chosen language makes the scope crystal clear. This covers operations, content creation, live fan experiences, Freedom Factory activations, and entirely new methods of connecting fans directly to the action. Cletus unveiled the partnership through a dedicated YouTube video where he surprised his complete Freedom Factory crew with a brand new fleet of Polaris off-road vehicles delivered directly to the facility. The Crown Vic fire safety crew received a Ranger XP 1000 four-seater specifically configured for debris cleanup operations. The grounds maintenance crew received a purpose-built Ranger XP 1000 optimized for landscaping work around the property. Track management personnel received a Ranger XD 1500 Extreme Duty unit configured as a fully mobile operational office. Track preparation specialist Wade received a fresh Ranger XP 1000 to replace his decade-old unit that had been serving the facility faithfully throughout that entire period. That is not a polished corporate press release. That is a major brand physically transforming the operational infrastructure of how the Freedom Factory functions on the literal first day the agreement takes effect. From a pure business perspective, the logic behind why Polaris aggressively pursued this particular partnership becomes immediately transparent. Cletus already possesses the audience. He already owns the physical facilities. He already commands a genuine culture that people don't simply casually watch from a distance, but actively follow with deep personal investment and loyalty. Polaris is not purchasing random exposure floating across a disconnected media landscape. They are directly connecting themselves to an already established and highly engaged fan community that physically shows up for the Freedom 500, Crown Vic Chaos events, drag racing competitions, shop content, track life documentation, and now officially sanctioned racing competition as well. They are investing in a complete and self-sustaining ecosystem rather than backing a single individual personality. And speaking of the Freedom 500 specifically, that event ran the identical weekend as the Bristol race on April 10th at the Freedom Factory located in Bradenton, Florida. Completely sold-out attendance, 26 drivers on the entry list, including Travis Pastrana, Kenny Wallace, and a full competitive field, mixing NASCAR veterans with popular content creators, all piloting Crown Vic police interceptors for a grueling 500-lap distance. Pastrana returned as the defending event champion, looking to repeat. Cletus himself saw his own night conclude prematurely with mechanical failures following race contact, which is precisely the kind of unpredictable and entertaining chaos that defines exactly what makes that event so genuinely beloved by its audience. The DeGene family ultimately claimed the victory celebration, but the central point here is undeniable. While NASCAR was actively deliberating whether to grant Cletus superspeedway approval at Talladega, he was simultaneously headlining his own completely packed event at his own privately owned racetrack in front of a completely sold-out crowd of passionate fans. The operation never loses momentum, regardless of what external decisions are being made about his sanctioned racing future. And then there's the expansion announcement that even his most dedicated followers haven't fully absorbed and processed yet. Cletus revealed to Short Track Scene that he recently acquired a straight rail late model from Port City Race Cars and has concrete plans to introduce a pro late model division running alongside his existing Crown Vic events as a companion series. He expressed his desire to develop his own traveling late model series that accompanies the Crown Vic program to each of their approximately 6 annual events and builds that series into a legitimate card alongside the existing headline attraction. This is not some casual weekend side project being casually assembled without serious intent. He is deliberately constructing a multi-layered motorsports business enterprise composed of content creation, owned facilities, live events, grassroots racing development, off-road experiences, and eventually broader sanctioned racing opportunities at progressively higher levels. That comprehensive vision is precisely what so many observers and critics continue missing entirely in this conversation. The temporary setback at Talladega within the O'Reilly Series framework represents just one single lane within a much wider operational highway that is simultaneously accelerating in every other available direction. Steve O'Donnell publicly states that measurable race-by-race progression is what the sanctioning body needs to observe moving forward. John Probst has clarified that the answer is not a permanent no by any interpretation. Richard Childress has already spoken publicly about the genuine broader value Cletus brings to the sport as a whole, and now one of the most powerful and recognizable brands in the entire powersports industry has constructed a multi-year partnership built around his complete world and everything he has created within it. Typically, when a driver receives a denial for a specific race, the surrounding story shrinks and fades from public attention relatively quickly. With Cletus McFarland, the precise opposite pattern keeps repeating itself without exception. And that's exactly what makes this entire situation so completely impossible to simply look away from and move on. So here's the honest bottom line on everything. Cletus McFarland arrived in NASCAR's orbit as a YouTube creator, and everyone had a strong opinion about whether he genuinely belonged in that competitive environment. Veterans inside the garage expressed skepticism. Critics formed organized lines to take their shots publicly. The doubters were loud and plentiful. And while all of that noise was happening all around him, he quietly continued racing, continued expanding, continued signing significant partnerships, and continued growing an operation that the overwhelming majority of full-time NASCAR drivers could not realistically assemble across an entire decade of trying. The Talladega door within the O'Reilly Series framework is not permanently closed and locked. It simply hasn't swung fully open quite yet. And if the past several months have demonstrated absolutely anything with complete clarity, it is that doors that have not yet opened have never once managed to slow this particular man down for even a single moment. If you're not already subscribed to NASCAR World News, hit that button immediately because